I received a call from a potential client asking if I would like to design the logo for the restaurant. Now, my answer to them might surprise you. My answer was no. Why? Well, because the right way to design a logo is not just to design the logo, it's to create the visual brand identity as a part of the brand strategy that informs that design direction. And so I explained to this potential customer that the right way to go about the process to build a brand and to manage the brand properly in order to maximize success is to develop a strong, cohesive brand strategy and use the information derived from there, the insights from there, to inform the direction of the visuals and the design and the rest of the brand identity. So after a quick conversation with the potential client, they agreed that it made sense. Of course, it made sense. It's the right way to go. And they saw it that way. And so they said, okay, let's start with doing a comprehensive brand strategy session, and let's get the brand in order. They were starting a restaurant concept that was, for them, a new business. They weren't in the restaurant business. And they were entering into a very hyper-saturated market. In the area where I'm from, in Southern California, there are Mexican restaurants everywhere. And they wanted to develop another one. And that's the reason why I said no when they asked me to design their logo. Because the solution for them was not for me to take their money, design their logo, and then watch them fail. That is not the right thing to do. The right thing to do is to generate a good strategy for them that will allow them to compete and succeed in the long term, and then develop, all the visual stuff as a direct result of the insights of how the brand needs to be developed. I realized there was a few challenges. One of them was that the proposed location, which was in a sense the only location that the budget allowed, was a terrible geographic location. Difficult to find even when you were in the business center, the shopping center. You couldn't see this restaurant. But even more than that, the concept of the restaurant was not differentiated. They had an idea, but this idea needed to go beyond, making the food taste good or better than the next one. Because guess what? As soon as they changed their formula and made it better, well, that just negates that supposed competitive advantage. And so I explained to my new customer that they had to add something that was intangible, something that was more abstract, but that was deeper in meaning. Have a clearer vision, something that would inspire people to join the movement of their restaurant. And they said, well, we don't have a movement. We're just trying to create a restaurant in honor of, one of our family members who came from Mexico and worked hard and achieved the American dream. We want to do this to honor them. But my question was, well, then why are people going to be inspired to support your restaurant, your business, as opposed to other people? And if you make the food better and then the competitor makes it better, well, then you lost. And guess what? And they have, the competitors, 5, 10, 15 years head start building community, building fans, building good reviews. So it's a losing battle. My solution to this was, let's blow the competition out of the water. In other words, let's make the competition so irrelevant that they would no longer be the competition. Now, you might be somewhat familiar with this idea, this blue ocean strategy, which is essentially a way to create radical differentiation that separates you head and shoulders above the competition. And so that was my goal. My goal was to introduce into this restaurant, into this business, an idea, a concept that was so different from the competitors that they would no longer be competitors. They would be irrelevant. So that was the goal. So in order to get their brand in order, I had to do a few things. I had to understand the capabilities that they had. Now, they were working with a chef at the time who had done cuisine in Mexico and had some really cool ideas. But I had to make sure that even though they already had essentially an idea of what they wanted to make for the types of dishes and the look and the taste that they wanted, taking a position of brand leadership in this process, I had to make sure that that was on brand, that matched the new brand that we were going to create, that would make their competition obsolete and that would ensure sustainable success for them. And so thankfully they were flexible and we were able to make some adaptations to the cuisine that they had, preserving the best parts, adjusting some aspects of it. Then I had to understand what their core competencies were. What was it that they were going to do really well? Where was there more opportunity for them to be able to seek places of advantage? Where were there threats to that we had to look out for? It was also important for me to make sure that not just the leadership, the owners had a unified vision, but that we crafted a clear and concise vision statement for the company, for the restaurant, that could then be communicated throughout the organization to the employees and also to the patrons. As we were working on developing the vision for the new company, we were discussing naming, and they already had a name that they wanted, but I told them, let's put that, we'll put it on the list of potential names. We have to test it to make sure that that's going to meet the requirements for proper naming. Is it going to give the right message that we're trying to give when you compare it with the competitive landscape? Is it going to be legally protectable? Is it going to be available for digital real estate and social media? So there were many aspects that go into the proper naming, but I actually liked the name that they had in mind, but we had to explore a few other ones just to make sure that we were doing a proper exploration to pick the right name, to do it strategically. As we explored ideas to describe the vision, the direction, the purpose became more and more clear. And it was a very exciting process. In fact, once we developed a clear idea of the brand, a clear brand idea, it helped to give clear direction to the vision. And the sense of purpose and direction and vision was so clear that actually one of the owners began to cry. It was a touching moment when they not only realized that there was a crystal clear vision to aim efforts to, but also that the memory of their relative that they were building the restaurant for would be done successfully, would be done in a careful way that would essentially maximize the success. So in the brand strategy, we worked on many other aspects. We worked on positioning, we worked on messaging, we worked on user personas and understanding the target audience, understanding needs and pain points. We also crafted a highly differentiated, unique value proposition. And this was going to allow the competition to become obsolete. And so instead of just saying we're going to make a better dish than the next guy, or we're going to make a bigger, fatter burrito than the next guy, we said, no, we're going to go the opposite direction. The way to differentiate radically and to remain profitable is to find a more modern option. And so instead of going, traditional and old style, we said we're going to blend the two. We're going to blend the hyper traditional with the hyper modern. And this made a beautiful blend of old and new. And so we decided that the best thing to do, because this new concept didn't fit into an existing category, we essentially made our own category. We were going to do healthy Mexican food. Now, that's not something you normally think about when you think of Mexican food. Let's be honest. Many places have great food, great tacos, great burritos, but they're a little bit on the greasy side, and you may feel a little weird afterwards. But not here. We decided that the way to make the biggest impact, not just financially, not just for the success of the business, but to make a big impact positively, a positive impact on customers and give them the best value, was to give them the best experience. And so guilt-free portions, guilt-free cooking that made them feel good about themselves after eating this, and also not sacrificing on the quality of the ingredients, the authentic recipes, and adding an element of sustainable global stewardship. So we worked on defining what are the attributes that define the brand. We went through a process of figuring out what it is that we're trying to communicate exactly to get that message across, and we're able to narrow it down, right? Because first you diverge and then you converge down, and we were able to find a clear message that made sense, clear set of brand attributes that we'd be able to then communicate in the brand identity side. And also we could then start to develop a menu around this new idea. So I was involved in the development of the menu, not just the design, but the development of the actual thing, even determining what should and should not be served and the quality of the ingredients used, because all of this had to match the promise, the brand promise that we were making to the customers, to provide the value that they were expecting and to supersede that, to go above and beyond. So then we discussed the marketing mix, what other types of things would make sense to go along, right? Aguas frescas, natural fresh drinks. Would we have, little herb gardens where you be able to just walk out and literally just cut the herbs right in front of the customers? Fresh little pastries that would rival Porto's bakery, if those of you in Southern California know what that is. So it was only after this process that we could start to then decide, okay, what is now the brand identity going to look like, feel like, sound like? And then we got into the process of working on the potential logo based on some options that we had for the name. The name that they had chosen, that immediately I said, this is a great name, was Escabeche. Escabeche Mexican Grill. And even though we picked a few other options to play with to see if it made sense, almost immediately when I heard this name, I said, this is such a great name. It's very ethnic sounding. It's unique. Escabeche is not something that a lot of people eat all the time, but it's something that is somewhat known in the Latin American community, but it has a ring to it. And when you write it out, it's very pleasing. So my instinct was telling me that this might be the direction to go, but I had to be objective. I had to make sure and test it to see if it made sense. Well, in the end, it did make sense. The name was available. It was legally protectable. The name had a domain that was available, and it had a great ring to it. And so once I got that, I said, okay, let's make some options for the visual brand identity. And then I started to work on ideas for the design direction. How modern is too modern? How much is too old looking? Would it be artisanal? Would it be rugged? Would it be with some stress? In other words, stressed out, kind of worn out designs. How much grit was appropriate? How much clean and modern was too clean and modern? So all of these things went into consideration when trying to figure out what the right look was. In the end, it was a great mix of some of these concepts, and the visual brand identity came out beautifully. And it also laid a good foundation for the rest of the visuals that would come out: branded materials, print collateral, merchandise, t-shirts, signage, giant menu, all these types of things that are necessary for promoting the brand, for being able to put the right message out on social media. All of these things were now in place. We had a good design direction. We had a great name. We had a great strategy. We had a great vision and purpose, something that was impactful and inspiring. The brand idea essentially was spicing up the ordinary. And the purpose of that was to let our customers know that this experience that you were going to get was going to be an experience that took you out of the ordinary. It was not going to be the same humdrum thing that you experience all the time. You may go to another restaurant, Mexican restaurant, but guess what? You're gonna get the same thing as always, right? Some greasy tacos, some greasy burrito. It's gonna make you feel like you're completely full and you're regretting your decision. No, a completely different experience. You're gonna feel good about yourself. You're going to feel light and excited, and you're gonna have a beautiful experience, and you're gonna taste exotic flavors, and you're going to have some fire. And that was the idea, is to spice up the ordinary, switch it up, change things around, get people excited about getting out of their routine and coming here. And that's exactly what happened. Is the audience was super excited. They saw the concept, they enjoyed the food, they completely embraced it, and the fans were raving. It was a great success. Once we were getting the word out there, media attention, a PBS feature, news media features, social media shares were going like crazy. It was interesting, a testament of the power of the great brand that we created was that even though this location was so hard to find, even when you were right there in front of it, we turned it into a game of, find this location and make sure you share with your friends so they know where this is at. And we had a secret menu on social media, kind of like the way In-N-Out does. We had that as well. It was not publicized inside the restaurant. You could only see the options on social media. And so you had to follow our page. You had to interact with us so that you could understand and see what was new. And so there was lots of gamified aspects to it, exciting things that were being changed up. There was promotions around events, local catering that was happening, community involvement. So all of this was part of the strategy of being able to enrich the community, enrich the customers that were coming in with an experience that was beautiful. It was something that was somewhat exotic and a little bit spicy, a little bit fiery. And all of that was something that was wrapped in this restaurant. Super excited that all of the KPIs that were in place, revenue, traffic, engagement, everything was completely off the charts. It was a phenomenal success. And I was very excited to be a part of the brand leadership, to be able to push this brand forward and to be able to get this idea, this new concept out there, and essentially to prove the work that I can do. I was able to create, along with the owners of this business and their resources and their effort and their blood, sweat, and tears, we were able to together create something that was amazing. People loved it. People didn't like it, they loved it. And that's what I work to create, is to create, well, something that's known as love brands, brands that people love. And so if that's something that you're looking for, to create a brand that people don't just like, that people love and they want to rave about and become ambassadors for and share, well, then we should probably talk. But this was a great experience. One of the most memorable and impactful brand strategy, brand development, brand leadership experiences that I've had. And I'm really excited to continue to work in the food and restaurant space, to be able to help other restaurateurs to be able to have that same experience, to create an unforgettable experience. And sometimes that requires pushing the boundaries. It requires trying new things, different things, being radically different. But that's what it takes to be able to succeed in this day and age. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for joining me on this journey of telling the story of Escabeche Mexican Grill and the great success that we had and that I had developing this brand from the ground up. And I'm looking forward to helping you on your future projects to be able to get your brand to the next level. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next video.